Welcome! I am Sonya Looney, World Endurance Champion, and here is my Facebook Q&A video that I did. All of the questions that I answered are in the notes below, and you can look at the timestamps with the corresponding question and fast forward to whatever answer you're looking for. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thanks for joining. The smoke in British Columbia, at least where I live in Kelowna, has cleared, and today was a perfectly beautiful, awesome day. Like, I did a ride this morning and I could see the entire valley. I actually posted on my stories on Instagram a video of it, but it was so beautiful. And I don't have to ride the trainer, which riding the trainer is good for training, but mentally I prefer to be outside, especially when it's nice. So thanks for joining, and guys, I will just start answering some of your questions. Feel free to add in. So I'm going to first start with the questions that people wrote in answering. So the first question was, we know rest is important. What are some guidelines to follow to avoid overworking and causing injury? So number one, this is not really related to rest, but always have a bike fit, because if you have a bike fit that isn't set up optimally, you're going to be prone to overuse injuries, even more so than normal. So make sure you have a bike fit, but being aware of the markers and the signs for you that show that on the bike you're fatigued is a good place to start. So you're probably going to go all the way, the pendulum's going to swing too far to show that you're too tired. But for me, my heart rate is low. So the first sign is my heart rate is not as responsive as it normally is. So that's like the first sign that something's wrong. And the second sign something's wrong is the legs aren't working so well. So for those of you, it's going to be different for everybody. Some people's legs don't hurt at all when they ride. My husband's one of those freak shows, but he gets really bad cramping. So basically it's hard because it's really individual. But if you feel tired, if you're not having fun on your bike ride, and you've been riding for more than 15-20 minutes, you're still not having fun, shut it down, because that means mentally you need a break. And if sometimes you don't want to get on your bike, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you need rest. There's lots of times where I actually don't want to get on my bike, but once I do, I feel much better about it. So making sure that you actually get on your bike and then see how you feel, and don't force it. And if you feel tired, like if you're walking portions of the trail where you're normally riding because you're too tired, that means you should go home. So it's okay to rest. It's okay to go home. And interestingly enough, people always, not lots of people, but people follow me on Strava. And if you guys are interested, you can check out my Strava. But people say, oh, well, you don't train very much. Like, I've actually had people email me saying, are these your actual rides on Strava? Because they think that my hours should be much higher than they are. And I train, it depends. I mean, I've trained anywhere from 10 to 20 hours a week, but usually it's more 15 hours or less. And I'm a professional athlete. That's what I do for a living. So it's important to realize that you don't actually have to spend a crazy amount of hours to be fast on your bike, but you want to be on there spending quality time on your bike. You want to, number one, feel happy to be there, because if you're forcing yourself day after day and you don't want to be there, it's not going to be good. Like, you're going to burn yourself out and you're not going to be enjoying what biking is meant to be. And number two, if you're physically fatigued, you will get faster if you're resting. So on days when you're tired, instead of saying negatively, oh, I'm tired, I suck today, say, I'm getting faster today because I'm tired, but because of that, I'm going to go rest. Because it's when you rest, that's when you get faster, not whenever you're driving yourself into the ground. Okay, the next question was, having trouble for elevation gain. Do you know any workouts to help me climb better, even though there's no hills around me? So not everybody's fortunate enough to live somewhere where there's lots of uphill, and I understand that. So basically, it's hard because with climbing, your body is in a different position than you are whenever you're on a flat. So an example that I have is I train on the trainer inside in the winter time. And sometimes if I go do a race, like I usually go race in January, February, and go do a stage race, I'm using my body differently when you're climbing. So that's going to be hard to make up for. But also, climbing is about muscle tension. So a lot of times the climb will dictate your effort level, because the climb, you have to be able to push against the ground and the incline. So if you live in a place where there aren't any climbs, try to increase your muscle tension. So push a harder gear and try and push that gear. You're going to be using your body differently. Like I actually really struggle on flat terrain because I never ride flat terrain, and I probably should, because in races I struggle and when it's flat. But pushing harder gear on flat. But yeah, there's really no substitute for riding uphill, but that's what I would do. So I have a total of like 8 questions, and I'll get to the questions that you guys have here. Do I ever ride a road bike? Well, here's the thing. I own a cross bike, which doubles as my road bike, but I don't ride a road bike. I don't road bike. But there's nothing wrong with road biking. But for me, I just, you know what I mentioned about enjoying your experience being outside on a bike? For me, I don't connect with road biking, and that, like, again, road biking is awesome for a lot of people. And to be honest, if I lived somewhere different, I probably would do more road biking. But I actually prefer to be on my mountain bike. And even if I'm road riding, I prefer to ride my mountain bike on the road, even though it's slower. But I'm a lot more comfortable when I'm riding my mountain bike on the road, because that's the position that I'm used to riding in. So if you can ride the bike that you're most comfortable on, chances are you're going to have the most fun. But I do ride to the trail and back. So to say I don't road ride would be false, but it's usually about a 30 to 35 minute ride to the trail. So, and then a 20-minute ride back. So I do spend about 50 minutes a day riding the road, but I don't do a road ride, solely road riding. And it's just because I love the trails. I'm fortunate to live in a place where I have a lot of different trails to ride. But if I live somewhere with awesome road riding where there's no traffic, I would do more of it. But I'm really afraid of the cars on the road. I mean, I'm guilty as anybody else of, a text message, look down, you could kill somebody, or you could be the person unfortunately getting hit by a car. And like a dear friend of mine was killed this year. He was running, not even on a bike, on the road, and he got ran over. So it's a huge risk, I think, to be on the road a lot, and it's just not a risk that I'm willing to take. So that's the answer to that question. The next question is, do you train with a power meter, and do you use it during mountain bike events? I find it hard because courses vary so much. So yes, I do train with a power meter. I really like my Wahoo Fitness Kicker trainer, and I use Trainer Road inside, and outside I have a Stages power meter. And I use it more for training than for racing, because mountain biking, it's so variable. You're not going to be putting a steady power output, and even doing mountain bike intervals on a trail using power is really challenging, because you're putting out, every single second you're putting out something different because the terrain changes so much. But if I'm training outside and I'm trying to do intervals based on power, and I want to be really strict about the power, I'll go do it on pavement or on a dirt road. So today I actually did intervals based on power. I was doing 5-minute intervals, and I rode to a dirt road. It's like a really hard, long climb, and I did my intervals on the dirt road using my power meter, and then I rode the trail back home. So I also like that, because riding downhill fatigued is part of mountain bike racing. And if you're killing yourself on the climb and then you're using your dropper post and having to squat on the downhill, it's also hard. So I don't know, that's how I do it. But I think that there's other things you can use besides power if you don't want a power meter, if you can't afford one. But power is the output of the system. There's a lot of other, and I'm actually going to be interviewing an expert on this for my podcast. There's a plug for my podcast, guys. Make sure you subscribe. Go to my website. There's a billion places you can find it. But the power is the output. The wattage is the output. There's a bunch of other things involved going into the system. There's your legs, your muscular system, your neuromuscular system, and how your brain talks your muscles. That's one. There's the respiratory system, and how hard you're breathing, how deep you're breathing, and being aware of when your breathing switches. And I've actually done workouts based on my breathing alone, especially when you're at altitude, because your power isn't going to be the same because it's going to be lower. But your respiratory is going to be your limiter. And then there's your heart. So there's a lot of different factors at play when it comes to your body, and wattage is the output of all of those systems combined. So make sure you check out that podcast, and we can do another whole other talk about that. But it's really interesting, and it's a really interesting way to approach training. And the next question is, how come I'm not in the UCI? And the race I just won in Colombia, called La Leyenda del Dorado, was an awesome race. It was a 7-day race. It was a UCI race. And the answer is, I don't avoid UCI races. It's just typically the races I sign up for don't happen to be UCI. So UCI is very European, or if you're trying to get a spot in the Olympics, it's definitely having UCI points is helpful. But in North America, most of our events aren't UCI. Like basically only a few of cross country races are UCI. That's it, to my knowledge, for mountain biking. So it's actually been a problem for me because I'm not ranked as high as I should be if all the races I was doing were UCI races. And also UCI points there's a rule about prize money, and I didn't really talk about this at all because I just don't really think it matters that much. But if people are pros listening to this and you're from North America and you're going to a UCI race and you haven't had any UCI points in the last 2 years, you are not eligible for prize money. So I did La Leyenda and I wasn't eligible. It's not the race's fault. It's the UCI rule, but I wasn't eligible for prize money because I didn't have any UCI points. My teammate was, so she was really kind and she split her half of the prize money, but I didn't get my half of the prize money because I didn't have any UCI points. And as a North American, that was a bit frustrating, but it is what it is. I don't race for money. I race because I love it. But yeah, so I'm not against UCI races. It's just that we don't have very many here. And now I have lots of points because I just won a UCI race. So that's pretty cool. And I definitely recommend Leyenda del Dorado. Definitely go check it out. All right. How would you train for a single ride with 12,000 feet of climbing? Is it more strength training or endurance training? So yeah, that's a really great question. Lots of endurance races. I'm guessing you might have been asking about the Park City Point to Point, which is a 75-mile point-to-point mountain bike race on single track with lots of climbing. The La Leyenda del Dorado was also a race that had a lot of climbing, like it was 12,000 feet of climbing and 50 and 60 miles. There was literally days that had 4.5 hours of climbing straight. So there's no easy answer for that. I don't do any strength training. I mean, I do a little bit of core work here and there, but I don't go in the gym, and that doesn't mean that you shouldn't go in the gym. But the best way is just to do your interval training, do your sweet spot training, which is I don't want to get too technical, but it's right below your sweet spot or right below your threshold, below your FTP, and that's where you need to be training most of your time if you're doing intervals as an endurance athlete. And to be honest, you shouldn't be doing intervals all the time. If you're doing intervals all the time, you're probably not recovered, and then you're doing junk work. So I only do 2 to 3 interval workouts per week, and that's on a good week. So most of your training should be spent working on your aerobic systems, and then only if you're recovered enough should you be doing intervals. So I don't know if I really answered that question. I do mostly endurance training for 12,000 feet of climbing plus, and I spend long hours on my bike, and I lengthen my sweet spot intervals. When am I going to do a gravel event? I'm not, because I don't like the road bikes. I know it's a gravel bike and it's different, but I like riding single track as much as possible. And a lot of my stage races outside North America are on dirt roads, so I do get that. But I just am not really interested in it. It's just not my thing. It's cool for everybody else that's doing it, but it's just not my thing. So no plans to do any gravel events at the moment. What do you pack when racing abroad, and what's your favorite energy food? I have a whole spreadsheet of what I pack for racing abroad, and it's actually on MTBR somewhere, but you guys can email me, and I'm happy to email you my spreadsheet. Or maybe I'll send it out in my newsletter to get you guys to sign up for my newsletter. I pack all my food, though, for the travel day. So I do a plant-based diet, so I always have staples like almond butter for the race, because you can find bread anywhere, and my breakfast is bread and almond butter. And I cook all my own food. And even crossing country borders, you're allowed to bring in cooked fruits and vegetables, not raw. So I always have cooked fruits and vegetables with some sort of grain, and I have like this much stuff. What's the best and fastest way to build VO2 Max? So basically, you want to be able to work on your respiratory system. And the reason why VO2 Max intervals are so short is because they're making you breathe really, really fast. So being able to push more volume of air faster is going to help your VO2 Max. So the shorter intervals so here's what you guys should do. Go out and do a ride and start riding, and you don't have to have power, but try to go off of perceived effort. And every 3 minutes, go 1 or 2 clicks harder, and count your breaths every 3 minutes per minute. See how many breaths per minute you're breathing. And when there's a definite shift in your breathing, that means now that you're over your threshold or for that day. And if you're doing VO2, you want to be breathing over that threshold. So you want to be pushing your body to breathe harder and harder, which is also going to work your respiratory system. There's other things you can do. There's respiratory training devices you can get that will also train that. All right. Oh, and you can just lose weight. VO2 max is also based on body weight, but I don't believe that VO2 max is the sign of an athlete who's going to be successful or not. There's a lot of athletes that have high VO2 maxes. I have a pretty high VO2 max. I don't know it off the top of my head. I think it's like 67, or I could be totally wrong, but it's a high number. But I don't agree that that is what makes you fast. So there's a number of things that contribute to that, especially what's in here. You could have the highest VO2 max in the world, but if you give up when it gets hard, it's not going to matter. Okay, someone said, have you felt any difference while taking oregano oil that I mentioned on the podcast? Oil of oregano. It's supposed to boost your immune system. I didn't really tell a difference. It was just really spicy and crazy. And whenever you're really sick, you'll try just about anything. And oil of oregano, I don't know. I don't know if it did anything, but I figured it didn't hurt to try it. Two more from the questions that the people asked from before, and then I'm going to get to the question that you guys are asking. What is the best indoor training software that you use? And what is your focus when training in the winter, and does that vary from the summer? So yeah, I mentioned before that I use Trainer Road for my winter training on my Wahoo Fitness kicker. And that's awesome. And it gets me fast. In fact, I think that my high end is fitter in the winter than it is in the summer, because I don't have the discipline to go out and do really short high intense intervals because I don't like it. But on the trainer, I'm bored, so I'm going to do all these different workouts, and the workouts are short. I have done some 3-hour trainer rides for sure, especially because I prepare for stage races in the winter on the trainer. So there are days where I spend 2-3 hours on the trainer, which sounds awful. When I first moved to BC, I was like riding the trainer because you can't ride it outside where I live in the winter. And one day I just got so depressed, and I got off my bike. I started crying while riding my bike, and then I got off my bike and I went and laid in bed in the fetal position because I had to ride the trainer. So I've come a long way from there. Now I kind of enjoy it. And yeah, so in the winter, my training is much more structured. The hours are less, and there's just tons of structure. In the summer, it's more about enjoying my time being on the mountain bike outside. And I do some structured training, but it's not as much, and it's not as, there's nothing like a trainer to get you in crazy shape, because you can't cheat the workout. You can't cheat the trainer with the trainer that I have. Whereas outside, if you're like, oh, I'm supposed to push 280 watts for 5 minutes, and you're like, maybe I'll just slow down a little bit. The trainer won't let you slow down. It'll just stop. So the trainer forces you to go harder. And what's been the most challenging race to date, and why? Whew, that is a hard question. You know, I don't know the answer to that. They're all hard. They're just hard in different ways. Like some of I think the Titan Desert in Morocco, I've raced in the Sahara Desert. That was hard because at the time, my foot was really screwed up. I had foot surgery last year. I have a really bad talar bunion, and it was the pain from that was so intense, and it was like 120 degrees out. The foot pain was so intense that it was like just horrible. And then the days were really long and really flat and really windy for the most part. And I didn't realize like you're supposed to bring your own team. Like I raced the solo category, but to win the race, you're supposed to bring a team. So like the girl that won had a team of all these men around her, and she was drafting off of them, and it was like a road race. And I had caught the pack one day, passed the pack, and the pack brought me back with her. Like, so that pissed me off. So that was really hard mentally to be out there by myself riding alone in the wind on flat terrain for like 80 miles when I knew that my competition had like 8 guys around her doing everything for her. So I'd say that is the most frustrating race to date, but it was a really cool experience. The Leyenda del Dorado was pretty damn hard just because of the amount of climbing and the altitude. It was like 52,000 feet of climbing in 7 days, and you're between 7,000 and 14,000 feet the whole time. It was awesome. But I'd say the hardest race to date is the Brazil ride. And I'm doing that race next month. That's my next race that I'm training for. They've changed the course. So this year it's somewhere different. So I don't know what it's like now. But before it was like 35 hours of racing in 7 days. And that's what makes it hard. Tons of different conditions, but it's also one of my favorite races to date. So yeah, that's a hard question. All right. So that's all the questions that people have pre-submitted. So now I'm going to try and see what other people have written here. So I'm just gonna like your things just so I can see that you can see that I have read them. Is an enduro bike good for all around trail too? From Michael Fletcher. So yeah, like enduro bikes aren't going to be as snappy on the climbs as your cross country bike, but they're going to be way more fun on the downhill. So I go back and forth between my two bikes, especially living in BC. But enduro bikes are really fun because like the downhill, you can just shred and go nuts. But yeah, they're great all around bikes. It's just they're going to be a little bit heavier. So there's a trade-off there. So if I want a snappy light bike for the climb, I bring my cross country bike. If I want to go and just like chill it on the downhill, I bring my enduro bike. All right, winter training, how to stay sane when regulated to the stationary trainer. Good question. That's a good segment from what I was just talking about. So with the indoor trainer, you need to do things to distract yourself. So I have this. So, okay, here's like a snapshot of what I do. So I have my trainer road workout on my phone and I have a laptop in front of me. So I have the workout and I do like a little warm up and then I do the interval. And during the interval, I'm blasting music and I'm doing the interval. So I'm fully engaged because I'm just trying to survive. In the recoveries, I turn off the music and I watch like however long the recovery is. Usually, well, if it's a short recovery, I don't do this, but sometimes like in between sets, it's like 10 minutes. I'll watch like part of a Netflix show. And I stop the Netflix show and I start the music again when the interval starts again. And then if I'm riding the trainer for like 2 or 3 hours, I stop for water breaks, I stop for pee breaks, just to break up the amount of time on the trainer. And if I'm totally miserable, I just stop because there's no reason to just drive yourself into the ground and make yourself hate life. All right, Michigan in the house. Bogota, Colombia. Hello. Colombia is awesome, guys. You should go there for sure. Oval Chainring from Louis Arias. I rode an oval chainring last year and I really liked it. It was good. Personal preference, I don't ride one this year. I'm riding Shimano drivetrain through and through, but I do like oval chainrings as well. I think it's easier at low speed on technical. Green chili, red chili, or Christmas? So New Mexicans say Christmas, and I would say definitely Christmas, but I like red chili better than green chili. Let's see here, going down. All right, in Spanish, oh boy. Okay, I did the translation, I cheated. So this guy, Luis, he says, you must always be strong, even though there are difficult times. You must never let us overcome and always with a smile on your face. Give the best smile to life. We admire you very much. Thanks very much. You have to smile. You have to. Like, you have a choice. You have a choice every single moment. That is what makes us human beings. That is the most important thing about our life, is that we have a choice. You can choose to be miserable or you can choose not to be miserable. And it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel bad. But what actions are you going to take? And that is what's important. Are you going to choose to take action? Or are you going to choose to be a victim and make excuses and stay stuck? So it's up to you. A little bit of a rant, but I'm pretty passionate about that. All right. Someone else has about oval chain rings, or maybe that's the same one. I don't think so. All right. How long have you done the vegan protein diet? Well, I don't do a vegan protein diet at all. I eat a plant-based diet, and I just, so I eat no meat, no dairy, no eggs. I get around 75 to 100 grams of protein per day. I have recently started subbing in a little bit of vegan protein powder into my smoothies. I just started that 3 days ago just to add in a little more. But yeah, typically you can get whatever you need from plants. You have to eat a higher volume of it, but like per ounce or gram per gram, there is more protein in a lot of different vegetables like broccoli. Guys, if you're interested in the plant-based diet stuff, I started a Facebook group called the Plant Powered Tribe, and I'm going to put it right now in the comments. So if you want to join, it's open. You don't have to eat a plant-based diet. It's just because everybody always asks questions, and I love helping, and it's also a community space where anybody can contribute. Okay, let's see here. Thanks for sticking with me, guys. Does drinking an espresso before a ride boost your energy? Usually, but sometimes drinking coffee makes me more tired, but usually it does. I I drink coffee because I love it. In fact, I was just drinking a decaf from Cafe Vita, the airport time, Seattle airport. I go through there all the time. Go to the Seattle airport and go to Cafe Vita in the airport, or if you're not in the airport, go to Cafe Vita. But my stops in the Seattle airport are Qdoba, where you can get a burrito, and I get a vegan burrito, and I go to Cafe Vita. So that's it. Hill repeats are boring. Is there a more efficient way to be a faster climber? Not really. You could do hill repeats, or just, well, you don't have to go up and down the same hill. Like today, I was doing hill repeats, but I was on it was like an hour and a half climb. So I did up the climb 5 minutes, and then I pedal easy for the rest, for another 5-7 minutes. But you're not going to get the same recovery as coasting back down. So just keep that in mind. But you can just do your intervals all the way up the climb, or you can do them on a trail. But again, if you're trying to be crazy about your numbers, it's not, like I did my intervals on a trail yesterday. I'm doing back-to-back interval days because of stage race training. But yeah. How does one get signed up for your newsletter? Go to my website, Don Young, and anybody else. Just go to SonyaLooney.com, and it just a prompt will just come up if you wait a few seconds to sign up for the newsletter. And there's like stuff on the side of the website as well. So yeah, I love that, guys. Any more 24-hour racing plans? So yes, I'm the 2015 24-hour world champion. I went last year to defend my title. Ooh, sorry, sprained ankle, and I just pulled on my foot. I went last year to defend my title, and I crashed 2 days before, got a bad concussion, and didn't race. So that was pretty much the end of that. That was a tough decision, but yeah, I'm not retired from 24-hour racing necessarily, but it really destroys you for like at least a month, and it's a lot of preparation getting ready for it. And I'm really focused on stage racing right now, so I'll do 24-hour race if it's the very beginning or the very end of the season, but typically they haven't been. So that's it. Lancey Pants, Lance Corpus. I'm awesome because you think I'm awesome. It's all what you think, right? Okay, do I have any functional resistance strength training? How do you go about including them in your training phases? So there's an app I use called Swork It, and I do include it every once in a while. I'm really terrible about doing core work, and I need to do it more. It's kind of like I need to do yoga more. I need to do more meditation. I'm not very good at making time for these things, but I'm trying to. But there's an app called Swork It. That's what I like to use for my functional training. You can set it like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. So I start with 5 minutes because that usually helps me get started. Because getting started, that's the hardest part. Okay, few more here. Have I tried using Zwift? Bill Mickey says, I find that I get less bored using it versus Trainer Road. I do like Zwift, but I'm a hyper-competitive person, and it's very hard for me to go on Zwift because people see my name, and then they recognize my name, and then they start hammering. And I don't like that. I don't like it whenever I'm outside just on a ride, riding to the trail or on the trail, and someone just sees me and wants to pass me just for fun. Like, that's not fun for me. So I would love Zwift if I could ride with people and it would be fun like that, but it's just not fun. Like, the racing aspect of Zwift is just not fun for me, and it tends to screw up the structural part of my workout because I'm not there to race other people. I'm there to get done what I need to get done. So yeah, and I have a hard time holding myself back. Like, I will tell you an anecdote. The first time ever I was on Zwift, it was like 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock or something, and I'm on there, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna chill. And then these people just start trying to race me, and I could not hold myself back, and I just started like hammering to catch back up, and I was like, this is stupid. Why am I doing this? And my husband pulls into the garage, and he sees me like yelling at the screen, just like burying myself for no reason. So it's hard to hold back on Zwift because you are on the computer. But generally, I'm pretty disciplined about that stuff. Any fat bike winter races planned? Not at the moment. I'm planning to go to Chile to go do the Transandes, and yeah, I'm not really planning on fat bike racing. Do I use a coach from Chris Shannon, or are you training based on your experience and knowledge? I'm training based on my experience and knowledge. I've been doing this for 13 years. Typically, coaches have overtrained me about 99% of the time. Every time I've had a coach, they've overtrained me. And it's not the coach's fault. I do a lot. Like, I'm a high energy person, and compared to other athletes that they coach, I do a lot more in a day than just ride my, like, I'm not saying people just ride their bike, but like on my rest day, and I'm not this is something I'm trying to change because this is not good. But I'll work like 12 hours. And then after my ride, I don't just chill out. Like I'm always like on the go. Like this is a beautiful thing. And it's also a curse because you cannot stop yourself. Like I cannot stop myself. I'm not good at relaxing. I don't watch TV. Like I don't know how to relax. So that's hard for a coach because they're assuming that you're doing your workout and maybe you're working like a normal amount of hours in a day and your nervous system gets fried. So being able to monitor myself is the best way to do it. And I admit that I'm not doing a very good job of resting, like resting my mind and doing all that stuff because I'm just so damn ambitious. There's so many things I want to do. There's so many cool projects I'm taking on and it makes me happy. Like I love working and I love doing all these other things. I love creating products, doing the podcast, writing for a bunch of publications, like doing special projects with my sponsors, working on my own personal development, like doing videos like this. This is what I love. This is what makes me feel good. But it's easy to get carried away and do too much of it. So again, always, I don't believe I don't believe in balance, but it's choosing when to be intentionally imbalanced and choosing when to rest. And something that I am working on is resting. So at the physio today, I went there and I go to Wahoo Physio in Kelowna and he does some dry needling. There's 15 minutes at the end where you get to lay there and they like put warm heat on your legs and all this stuff. And normally I'm like on my phone. I'm like laying there like responding to Instagram and doing all this stuff. But today I was like, I'm not picking up my phone. I'm just going to shut my eyes for 15 minutes. So that was my small win for the day for resting. Okay, that was a long rant. What brakes do you ride? Disc brake size. It depends on the bike, but I always run a 180 rotor up front, always. I stopped running 160s because I love to go fast downhill, and a 160 rotor is sketchy because you lose control. I ride Shimano XTR trail brakes. So I rode XC brakes at Leyenda del Dorado, and that will be the last time I ride XC brakes. Trail brakes are 20 to 30% more grippy. And the way that I descend, I love to have the extra control. So 180 in the front, 160 on the rear, XTR trail brakes for my cross-country bikes. My enduro bike, I have a 203 rotor on the front, a 180 in the rear, and I have some Shimano Saint brakes to try, but I'm still using the XTR trail. Transylvania. Yes. Am I going to do it again? I am going to do it again. I don't know when, because it's hard. It's East Coast and blah, blah, blah. Excuses. But this year it was awesome. Like I went there and I learned how to ride technical trails when I moved to BC because I had to, because otherwise I'd be walking every trail. So Transylvania is quite technical, and this year it was awesome. Like I crushed the technical and it was fun, but I ended up this is what these scars are. You can see this, and like these aren't hickeys. This is like burn scars because I had a cooking accident, and the night before the race, these were all just like crazy open sores and blisters all over my body, like second-degree serious burns. And so that's how I started the race. But I was still having a great time. I was in the leader's jersey, and then I broke my bike, and then I got an hour time penalty because I borrowed like a $300 hardtail with reflectors so I could finish the stage. So it was a good experience, lots of mishaps. There's a whole podcast episode about that. So you have to go back a little bit, but it's a whole podcast about Transylvania. And I think that you guys probably should check that out. All right. How was Leyenda del Dorado? It was awesome. Also did a podcast, a whole hour talking about that. It was amazing. Like Colombia, it's such a cool country. Like there's so many great people there. Like the cycling fans are insane. Like I was in tears every day at the finish line because I had never felt so welcome and so appreciated at a race. Like there was thousands of people that all cared about what you were doing. And there was like little girls holding signs with my name on it. And the race organization was incredible. Like it was only a second-year event. It was it was so dialed, like everything taken care of. You stay in hotels, like nice hotels. You get to stay at a hot springs. Everybody, like it was great. Like definitely a dialed event. It's a hard challenge, but definitely worth doing, guys. Put that on your list. Do I ride Plus tires? Not yet. I'm not against Plus tires, but I just don't have a Plus bike, so that's why. There's lots of questions still going, but I think we're getting to the bottom here. How long have I been on a plant-based diet, and how was the transition to the diet? Diet from Chris. I've been eating plant-based diet for over 4 years. Again, make sure that you check out the Facebook page, the Facebook group, Plant Powered Tribe, facebook.com/group/Plant Powered Tribe. I'll also send out a newsletter inviting everybody. I don't think I have yet. But yeah, so for just over 4 years, it's been awesome. I started winning more races. Like basically everything in my life got better. And I know that sounds like, oh, she's just saying that, but no, like lots of things got better for me. And I don't know if it's because you get better clarity of thought or whatever, but I just noticed that lots of things in my life started going better. But from a physiological standpoint, the reason I eat a plant-based diet is because it prevents diseases. And there is more and more and more information out there. Like the World Health Organization says processed meat is a class 1 carcinogen. This is not like some hokey, like hippie website. It's the World Health Organization saying that processed meat causes cancer. So you can look that up for yourself. But there's just, and like the Canada Food Guide, they now recommend lentils and other protein sources, lentils, tofu, things like that. They don't just say meat and dairy anymore because there's enough information saying that it's not good for you and it causes some types of cancer and heart disease and all these other bad things. So that's why I eat a plant-based diet. I didn't do it for performance on my bike. That's the only reason I did it. And it's been awesome and I love it. So I feel really good. There have been times where it's like you have to eat meat because there's nothing else, and I don't feel good when I eat that. So yeah, I love eating a whole foods plant-based diet. It's the best for me. And you don't have to go 100% plant-based. I'm actually speaking at the World Vegan Festival in San Francisco on October the 1st. So if any of you guys are from there, you should come check it out. But I'm going to talk about change and how hard it is to make changes, and also inclusivity. So whenever people are talking about diet, people are very like food is a personal, emotional thing. And if you tell people like, homie, you can't eat your bacon anymore, or stop eating that burger, or whatever, like people feel judged and it's hard. And the goal is like, it depends on what everyone's goal is, right? Like if you're a fundamentalist vegan for political animal rights, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, it might be a little bit harder for you to be more accepting, but the world would be a better place if people weren't so black and white and didn't draw so many lines in the sand. So for me, the reason I talk about it is because I think that it's better for my health, and I'm passionate about health. So you don't have to go 100% plant-based. You don't have to say, I'm never eating meat, cheese, eggs ever again. Like, you don't have to say that. You don't have to commit to that. All you have to do if you want to be healthier is just commit to eating less of that stuff and more of the good stuff, and see how you feel. And like, people judge you because you're eating that stuff, like, too bad for them. It doesn't matter what other people think. So you have to do what's right for you. But if you're interested in that stuff, join the Facebook group, Plant Powered Tribe, and just give it a try. And if it's not going well, switch back. But most people feel pretty good as long as they're getting enough calories. And that's the hardest part, is that as an athlete, a lot of times you don't get enough calories. So you really have to make sure that you are, and making sure that you're getting like whole calories, not like crap calories. You want to be eating whole foods, which means food in its most unprocessed form. So don't eat applesauce, eat an apple. Like eat rice, not rice pasta, although I do eat rice pasta. You know, like just try to eat a little processed food as you can. Okay, here we go. Do I like the Wahoo heart rate product better than Polar? Definitely much better than Polar. I love the Wahoo products. The best part about the Wahoo products is how they interface with your phone and the ease of that. So that's my favorite part about the Wahoo products. All right. Still going down. Who influenced you to get I? I don't know the rest of the answer to that, because it says who influenced you to get I. Kevin, if you're still here, type that again. Okay. Hey, my dad's here. I don't know if he's still here, but hi, Dad. All right, we're just reading your guys' comments. Guys, you can respond to each other's comments too. Like, we're building community here. So it's not just me, Sonya, the boss, and like the speaker. Like, I want everybody to kind of make friends with one another, because that's why we're here, right? We all love bikes and travel and health and all this stuff. So yeah. All right. Do I take any supplements like whey, branched chain amino acids, or do I get all I need from plants? So if you do a plant-based diet, you definitely need a B12 supplement. And I take a vitamin D supplement in the winter because the sun does not shine for like 3 months. No sun. It sucks. I even have a UV lamp. I really struggle in the winter time with that. So I'd take a vitamin D supplement. And I recently had a consultation with a sports physiologist, and he did recommend that I take, not because I eat a plant-based diet, but he recommends all of these athletes. He coaches like professional Olympian runners and stuff, take all these different supplements. So it's like different branched chain amino acids like leucine. And there's a book I read called Roar by Stacey Sims, and it talks about that as well. So just more branched chain amino acids. So I'm going to look into that, and I'll let you guys know how it goes. Let's see. Watching from the Library of Congress. That's pretty sweet. All right. Sweet. I think I got through all the questions, guys. That's amazing. I don't normally do that. And it's been 43 minutes. I actually need to go write my speech now for my World Vegan Festival October 1st in San Francisco talk. But guys, thanks for listening. Make sure you subscribe to my podcast because every single week I have a guest about all different topics, and I think you might really be interested in those. You can go to my website, sonyalooney.com/podcasts, and you'll be able to find all the podcasts and ways to subscribe. The newsletters on my website as well. Everything is there. So thanks for your attention. You can check out my other social media channels too. I've been posting a lot more on Instagram than Facebook, although I do try really hard to stay up on Facebook as well. But thanks for joining, guys, and I will see you